KWT slaying.
What if the truth was never lost, only buried? For centuries, historians, scholars, and even colonial records have confirmed what many tried to silence. The original Israelites were a black people scattered across continents but never erased. Their skin was dark, their customs ancient, and their covenant with Yah eternal. This journey uncovers how the Spanish and Portuguese Jews, described as dark-skinned, Semitic, shared one bloodline. Chased by the Inquisition, many fled to Portugal, then beyond, preserving their heritage across borders. But the story doesn't end in Iberia. Across from West Africa, black Jews built synagogues, kept Torah, and passed down the laws of Moses. The Limba in southern Africa, the Igbo in Nigeria, the Beta Israel in Ethiopia, tribes across the continent boldly declared, "We are the children of Israel." These aren't isolated claims. These are voices rising from the dust, connected by oral histories, Torah traditions, and the unbroken rhythm of their identity. No such legacy exists among European Jews. No centuries of tribal witness, no matching traditions, no trace of ancient covenant keeping. Maps, art, and archaeology tell the same story. The Israelites were scattered, enslaved, and displaced, but never lost. The world always knew who they were. Their presence was visible, their customs alive, their story intact. This book doesn't speculate. It confirms the Israelites were black, bound by blood, culture, and covenant to the Most High. This is not just history, it's restoration. The truth was never destroyed, only buried beneath centuries of deception. Get your copy of They Always Knew We Were Israelites today, available now on Amazon.com.
Salama family, Salama, how y'all doing today? Hope you're blessed and highly favored. So today we're going to talk, it's going to be a mixture of a history lesson and prophecy and how all of this stuff merges together. Think of this for a second. For the ones who been on this channel for a while, you've been through some of the historical history of the Israelites. And there's an interesting phenomenon happening lately. And I'm going to talk about that a bit, but I'm also going to go into the historical aspect. But I'm going to show you this other video as well, and we're going to talk about that. And so the deception is multifaceted, but understand that the deception is always mixed with truth and lies. And so what is happening is mind-boggling to me on the level. Here's the thing. I see things because I study all the time, right? So certain things people might overlook and say, hey, interesting. I see as conditioning. I see as manipulation. I see as trying to get us to move a certain direction. Now, you know as well as I do, for the Hebrew Israelites, whether they're woke or not, are pretty easily manipulated with multimedia, Facebook, TikTok, cultural norms, entertainers, that whole thing. And so, I always ask myself the question, sort of like when they would have all of the images of black men with white women or black women with white men. I would ask myself, how come all of these videos keep popping up on my thread? Right. And then there's the other thing, right? You got the phenomena of the young women, the young black women, showing all their stuff on media. Right now, I know they're making money, but it removes the idea of them being housewives and mothers and stuff like that. Just objects to be consumed. Let's put it that way. So they are pretty good at manipulating us. Now, I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna get into this stuff. It might be a little long. What is going to happen has already happened. What was is what will be. There's nothing new under the sun. And if you know our history, the real history, then it all makes sense. So I'm gonna show you this video because I'm gonna go somewhere with it, because there's another video I'm gonna show after this. And then I'm gonna get into a particular teaching concerning this, to let you know what I think is happening. Because I'm gonna say this again. Our people have a habit of still consuming Eurocentric Christianity doctrine right now. Hey, if it holds up, then fine. But if it don't hold up, then you got to reevaluate your belief system. And some of us still waiting on a rapture. Some of us still waiting on, this Antichrist figure and how he's going to show up. And I don't know how he's going to show up, right? I don't have all that. But what I can tell you is that I can see through a veil darkly, right? I can see things. I can't make everything out, but I can see what you're up to. I can see you manipulating, right? So now I know when I show this, it's going to sort of be, you're going to be like, why you're showing this? What does that have to do with prophecy? What's the context here, right? But stick with me for a second, and I'm going to be going somewhere with it. So before I go, let me know, do I sound okay? Give me one. If not, give me two. Don't want to get halfway in and say, Jacoba, you sound broken. Okay, great. All right. So stick with me. I'm going somewhere with this, but just listen. I'm going to go somewhere with it. Right. Somebody gave me a 2, but everybody else gave me a 1. Check your connection.
I love this story, and apparently you did too. The update is celebrities showing their love for viral Black Scottish TikToker. Give you a recap first of the man at the center of this love fest.
I don't know if it was just a Scottish thing in primary school, and the teacher would be like, "Oh, we're doing, I don't know, gymnastics today," and you'd be like, "Yeah, it's all buzzing, running around in your mad Penny Blacks."
Who else seen that Black guy who was over, who's from Scotland, who got on our For You page, and he's like scratched something in our brain with his accent, and he's talking about the weather. We're all like, I don't understand what you talking about, but keep talking.
Now, bitch, some things in life just ain't fair, because I'm sitting here randomly watching Highlander, and then next thing I know, this fine-ass Scottish brother just popped up on my screen. Now, where the hell he came from, I don't know. And now my soul is conflicted, because I'm trying to figure out, do I want to fly my ass to Edinburgh, or am I going to wait on these homeboys from outer space? Either way, the options are optioning right now. Lord have mercy.
I don't know what I
ain't gonna lie, that was funny. I thought that was funny. She said is she gonna get the Scottish guy, or is she waiting for the homeboys from outer space? Y'all know the African Americans who's supposed to be coming in spaceships. So I just thought that was funny, but let's go.
was expecting when I saw that man on my timeline and he started talking in that Scottish accent, baby. What Black women, when are we taking our trip?
I just want to know, is it safe? Can I come? Are y'all taking immigrants?
I've been on Black Scottish Talk, and I have no intentions on leaving anytime soon.
Guys, the entertainment on that last post in the last 24 hours has been crazy. But welcome to Black Scottish TikTok. I'm a slow down so that y'all can understand me. My new transatlantic followers are having a hard time following along. At least that's what they're saying in the comments. So let me answer some frequently asked questions. Number one, yes, I am black. Yes, I am Scottish. I am not Sassenach. I am not Irish. I am not Welsh. 43 years born and raised in Scotland. 100% Scotch beef right here.
Do you know how much I could say? When he said did he say Scottish or scrumptious? You're just adorable, you. Let's get a ski trip together.
All right, so they got more there, right? But the question is, you cool, but why did you show that? You know, because I show that because there's a look. Here's the thing: when something happens once, then okay, you know, it's just something that's catching on. But if something happens more than once within the same time frame, I believe it's an agenda. Right now, I'm gonna show y'all this. Now, this particular video, there's truth mixed with lies, right? This particular video has some truths. So I'll talk about it after you see it. It has some truths, but this is where it's gonna get deep. But here's the thing. This is how they throw you off, right? You're gonna say, well, you know, this dude a cult, they witches, he's an antichrist, and I'm not gonna argue that. Right? He's a false prophet. I'm not going to argue that. But let me make my comment after you see the video. All right. So let's share again.
Kubala.
Ilizwe.
Kubala.
Ilizwe.
Kubala.
Ilizwe
Siona.
is here. Blessed be the King of the North. Blessed be the Holy One of David. You are the Shushuma. You are the Messiah to lead all the chosen people, the Hebrews.
Let me pause right there. I don't know if he rolling his eyes. I don't know if he demon possessed. I don't know if he on drugs, but something wrong with the brother. But let's continue. I'm just saying, look at that. He looked demon possessed. But I'm going somewhere, family. Just stick with me, all right?
To the promised land. May your excellence abound, O great one.
Kingdom of Kubala is an ancient kingdom which existed.
So this is a new community, apparently. He says it's an ancient kingdom. But it depends on what perspective you're coming from. And this is where I'm going to be going with this, right? Because it ties back to the guy we showed before, which is the Scottish, right? Why Black Scottish is a trend now? Why are they pushing this? And why these people who are in Scotland, who are Hebrew Israelites, right? Both literally, and they understand who Yahuwah is. I'm just saying, but this guy thinks he's a Messiah figure, but it's crazy. Just stick with me. Stick with me.
In Great Britain, 400 years ago, this kingdom is a kingdom for the Jacobites, the Highlanders of Scotland, and the true Moors of Kubala. 400 years ago, my ancestors were deported from this land. The rest of them were killed and destroyed in the land they used to own. Some of them went to Guyana. Some of them went to Haiti. Some of them went to Jamaica. Some of them went to Ghana. But the prophecy said, after 400 years, there shall come the rise of Kubala and the Messiah.
I don't know what Kubala means, but a lot of the stuff he just said right now is legit, right? The history, right? Connection to Scotland, the connection to the land. So that's what I'm saying. When they be messing with us, they be adding a little truth with a little lie, but just listen.
Messiah and the king of Kubala shall come back to reclaim his inheritance. That is the story which was told in the Lion King. For I am the king of Kubala, and I have come to reclaim my pride. Kubala, Kubala.
Ilizwe.
So he's an Antichrist figure, right? He says he's the Messiah figure. This chick over here on the right in the red dress, she's from Texas, who she's been missing. They found out she was out here in these woods living with these folks. She's his concubine, right? And so what he's talking about, the 400-year prophecy, we all know that Cattell Ministry is one of the first, if not the first, that taught on the 400 years. And so we have this dynamic of the truth of what happened in Scotland and the prophecies of the return of the Messiah, which is we know to be Yahushua, to come and deliver his people from captivity. Okay, just stick with me, because this is some strange stuff, right? I'm going somewhere with it. Yes, it's a psyop. It is a psyop. It is definitely a psyop, Big Red.
I am the mother of Chaka. I am the high priestess of the kingdom of Kubala. I am the queen of the north. And I am the most beloved of the king, the wife of his youth. I am his prophetess. I see in visions, I see in dreams, to help the king as his helpmate to build this kingdom.
I am the handmaid of Queen Nandi. I am the inferior mistress, and I also play as a surrogate for the queen. I'm also the bondwoman of the king, which means I do not have the formal title of a wife, but he is my husband, and we are a tribe.
The kingdom of Kubala has been on a pilgrimage to our lost heritage, following the roots of our ancestors back to the land where Jacob, our forefather, laid his stone. The stone.
So I'm gonna say this right quick before we get into the teaching and everything, right? Scotland, at least parts of Scotland, was occupied, in my opinion, from my research, by Ezra Alawi, or Israelites, descendants of Jacob. All right, same thing with Ireland, same thing with Britain, stuff like that. But we're gonna talk about that a little bit, because I'm telling you, this stuff just don't come out of nowhere, right? And as I said, the average person is not gonna catch it, right?
Of corn.
Yeah.
And he blessed it with the oil. After he poured the oil, he said, one day, the Messiah, his son,
the Shiloh,
the Shiloh shall return.
Now y'all see how she bowing before this dude, right? Because she think he a Messiah figure, right? And she his concubine, right? It's crazy stuff, but this is part of the whole Antichrist thing. That's why I think, the scripture says, Yeshua says, I come in my Father's name. You don't receive me. Another shall come in his name. Him you will receive. And so, there's also many antichrists, right? There are many antichrists or anti-messiahs. This stuff is deep. And the reason why it's deep is because some of the stuff that he said is true historically, right? But I'm going to show y'all, these are some dangerous times. I'm telling y'all. We are in danger in many levels, and I know y'all get tired of hearing me say it, but let's continue.
To Scotland, and he shall build back the lost heritage, the lost kingdom, the last kingdom of Scotland.
Living in Kubala, this life is the most authentic, beautiful life. It's a life of depending solely on our Creator. It's a life of reconnecting to nature. Nature looks after us, and we do not toil. All we do is work for our gods, and it gives us so much joy. As you said before, you had laughter. We wake up in the morning, whether it's raining, whether it's cold, we embrace the cold because we are northerners. It's a shame that my children are not here. They were taken from me because of my beliefs, our faith. When we embraced this Yahweh, the God of Kubala, all our children were taken by the government. But they love this life, my little ones. Chaka loves this. Charo loves this. Wherever they are, they dream to be here. And we have faith that I will be a joyful mother again in the kingdom of Kubala. And no one will make me afraid.
There is fire in Kubala. Fire, fire. There is fire in
mukubala oye.
Fire, fire.
Nene moto mukubala. Kaya kaya. Nene moto mukubala oye. Kaya kaya. We have always told you that.
Okay, my question is how he got two women to follow him in the woods in a tent. I'm just saying, I don't get it. I don't get it. How you get two Ezra Alawi women to follow you in the woods with no house, got a tent, fire, walking with no with no shoes. I'm sorry, y'all. I just don't get it, right? But anyway, so there's this deception going on, right? But here's the thing: this deception is tied to a historical truth. Right now, with that guy's eyes, his eyes were white, right, family? Look like his eyes were rolled back. I don't know what the heck was going on there. Was he demon possessed? Was he smoking something? I don't know. One thing I could tell you, I don't put nothing past these last days, and I'm telling y'all, I'm seeing so much deception, and the average person not gonna see it. I mean, it in my opinion, it is bad. It is bad. The deception is awful. And here's the thing: a lot of people are gonna follow their pernicious ways, and you know why I know they're gonna follow them? Like this chick from Texas, right? Who followed him out there in Scotland in the woods. I don't know how he did that one, But anyway, yeah. I mean, if his eyes really were rolled back, maybe it is demonic influence. I don't know, but I know people going to end up following because you know how I know? Because they already follow Mormonism. They already follow the sealed portions. They already follow Druidism, right? Our people messed up, right? So I don't have no doubt a lot of people going to follow them, all right? So, but let me show y'all why this is dangerous, because it is connected to some truth. And so when you have the truth on your side, a lot of people are going to say, well, see, this did happen. See, that did happen, right? It's sort of like what's happening with the Native American Indian people who think this is our homeland, that this is Israel, this is our land, America, right? They say we the indigenous, right? Because we had some people who were here, before the transatlantic slave trade, which I have no disagreement with, that we had people in America before the transatlantic slave trade. And I've talked about that. But they make a whole doctrine out of the fact that, I'm a Cherokee, I'm Blackfoot Indian, right? No, you was a slave. Your ancestors were slaves, and y'all ended up being, integrated amongst your captors, just like we are today. We're Americans, right? Living in America, but we're Ezra Alawi, who happen to be held captive. So I'm not going to say I'm an indigenous American because, them folks came and brought us over here on ships, right? I'm like, this is the logic issue that we have, right? The lack of comprehensive education or deception. I don't know what to tell you. But here's what we got to understand, that some of what they talk about is true. And that's how you got to separate the truth from the lie. So your awakening is war to them. So this awakening, remember, Tell Ministries, look, I don't know nobody else was teaching on the 400 years before we taught it. I'm just saying we were teaching what was going to happen after 2019, right? We taught it, and all of the stuff started happening like we said, right? Even though we got a lot of pushback, all of this stuff is happening, and now you can see it, right? You can see all of the judgments. You can see all of the paganism. Now you can see the encroachment of the dragon through Trump, right? We see all of these things happening now. And so, but what we don't realize is that all of this is tied to a historical past. And I'm going to tell y'all what I think happened in the past. So, with the Inquisition and all this type of stuff, right? All of this stuff comes together. So your awakening is war to them, right? Because the awakening denotes that our captivity is ending, right? And because our captivity is ending, that means that rulership is going to pass from them to us. The first shall be last and the last shall be first, right? That's where we're at. They know it. So in my opinion, and I'm going to show you why, that a contingency plan has been put in place. So there's this concept, right? I don't know if y'all saw my video. It's called the Order 66. Execute Order 66, right? All of this ties back to that too, right? If you haven't seen that video, go watch it. It's over there on Odyssey, right? And so there's a execute order, which is part of the military campaign. Before the execute order, you have the plan order, right? So they have these plans or contingency plans that they put in place so that if certain things happen, right? If certain things happen, then we have an execution order to move on the plan that, okay, like let me give you an example. Let's say you've been planning for a earthquake happening in the Yellowstone, right? You've been planning this for, centuries or whatever, or at least let's say decades. And so you have a plan order, right? Put in place, here's the plan. But once the volcano in the Yellowstone erupts, then you move into execution, right? You start to execute the plan. And that's why, in Execute Order 66, which is tied to the Star Wars whole thing, you execute the plan. So in Star Wars, they executed the order to take out all of the Ezra Alawi who were called Jedi, right? Yeah. If y'all don't know, go look at the whole video over on Odyssey, Order 66. But basically, they executed the order to execute the Padawans, right? So what happened was, in my opinion, mind you, what happened was after 2019, they saw that they could not stop the awakening. After 2019, they could not stop the awakening. So what they do, they went from the planning stage, or as Brother God said, contingency plan, to executing that plan. And that's what we're seeing today. That's what we're seeing with the MAGA people, with the Trump supporters and the MAGA supporters, right? They are, I'm going to say it, some of y'all Christians ain't going to like it. Y'all antichrist. I'm not saying all Christians are antichrist. I'm saying a lot of the MAGA supporters are antichrist. Why? Well, there's a whole bunch of reasons why. But let's continue, because I'm going to show you the historical connections, because I'm going to make a point. All right. So your awakening is war to them. So the swarthy kings of Scotland, the Israelite Jacobites in the war against the awakening. For centuries, the true history of Black rulership in the British Isles have been buried under layers of whitewashed narratives, racial pseudoscience, and colonial propaganda. But records, portraits, military reports, and even the writings of colonial strategists themselves tell a different story, one in which Black people ruled, fought, and were later overthrown and enslaved alongside their Israelite kin expelled from Spain and Portugal. So we all know about the history and the story of the Moors and how the Moors ruled, Spain and Portugal. But guess what? They didn't just rule Spain and Portugal. They ruled what we call Europe. Okay, they ruled Scotland. They ruled Ireland. They ruled Italy. They ruled parts of France. I know y'all ain't gonna believe me, some of y'all, because you ain't do your homework. But let's continue. Scotland and Ireland, King James the Black Boy and the swarthy Stuarts. King James VI of Scotland, who became James I of England, is described in multiple sources as being swarthy or black-skinned. In fact, he was nicknamed the Black Boy, and evidence from portraits and court records suggests he was not Anglo-Saxon in appearance. James was a Stuart, a royal family of mixed ancestry with the Moorish, Jewish, and African lineages running through their bloodlines. Early monarchs like William the Conqueror, William I and II Rufus, were also referred to as swarthy or dark-skinned. The 1910 Encyclopedia Britannica and older descriptions of the Norman kings include references to their complex complexion, that is, being dusky, brown, or black-haired with swarthy features, which contradicts the modern depiction of them as white Europeans. So King James was a Ezra Alawi. And, at first I was thinking that King James might have been an Edomite because, initially Edomites were black. right? And so, you know, we look at this whole history that they tell us about King James being gay and all this stuff. I don't think that's what happened. I'm gonna tell you what I think happened. But anyway, King James, he ruled what we call Scotland or parts of Scotland. All right. It was a black community. He was a black man called Black Boy who was swarthy, who ruled parts of Scotland. So Scotland and Ireland King. Early monarchs like William the Conqueror and William II Rufus were also referred to as swarthy or dark-skinned. The 1910 Encyclopedia Britannica older depicts descriptions of Norman kings include references to their complexion be dusky brown. Okay, I say that. All right, so let's move on. All right, so here's from Nature Knows No Color Line by J.A. Rogers. In Africa, the Moors continued to be a leading power, and to no little extent in India also. They dominated the Mediterranean and the North Atlantic and plundered the coast of Western Europe and the British Isles. So they were ruled by Moors. It wasn't just the Spain and Portugal ruled by Moors. Europe was what we call Europe, or Western Europe was ruled by Moors. They even conquered and ruled parts of Scotland. David McRitchie, eminent British archaeologist, says so late as the 10th century, 3 of these provinces were wholly black, and the supreme ruler of them became for a time the paramount king of transmarine Scotland. We see one of the black people, the Moors of the Romans. So we see here that the Moors, black folks, ruled Scotland. And remember, King James was called Black Boy. King James was from Scotland. King James ended up ruling what we call Britain. And when he was ruling Britain, Ireland, and Scotland. All right. So this whole talk about, the brother I showed you in the beginning, the Scottish, right? He's probably an original Scottish, not a migrant, right? Probably been there since the time, of the Moors. All right, so let's continue. And I don't know his family history. I'm just saying it's possible. All right. So in the person of King of Alban of the 10th century, history knows him as Kenneth, sometimes of Dub. Dub means black. It means black. And as Niger or nigger, right? We know as an historical fact that a nigger, El Dub, that is a nigger the black. That's what it means, nigger the black. Has lived and reigned over certain black divisions of our islands and probably white divisions also, and that a race known as the Sons of the Black succeeded him in history. Welsh traditions, he says, tell also of these black people, and the legends and history of the Scottish Highlands are both witnesses to the existence of a purely black people there. You notice they always want you to think Europe was white. I told y'all Europe was black. Most of the world was black, ruled by black. See, this is why they hate us so much. And I'm gonna tell you what happened. Y'all gonna find out. I mean, we sort of know, but I'm gonna put it in modern parlance, right? I'm gonna put it in a modern way of understanding. Because I'm gonna say this. These people had it out. Y'all ever wondered why they hate us so much? Yes or no? Y'all ever wondered why the world hate us so much? It don't matter where we go, they don't like niggas. You ever notice that? So what we got to understand is all of this is part of a plan, right? And it's like, even in America, you'd be like, you got the KKK, you got all, they don't want to let us get up. They keep pushing us down. They put their foot on our neck, right? They don't let us rise up. And if you do rise up, you got to compromise your belief system and betray your people in order to succeed so that they can maintain power. Because like we said, they know who we are. They always knew who we were, and they had an execution plan. So in 982, they defeated the flower of Christendom under Otto II of Germany. Unmixed Negro troops, most of them with Ethiopia and the Sudan. Pay close attention to that. So where did these Negro troops come from? Ethiopia and the Sudan. Now, don't think in terms of modern Ethiopia, even though it's inclusive in that. Okay. So unmixed Negro troops, most of them from Ethiopia and the Sudan, furnished a large part of the Moorish or Saracen troops. Now, those are the people who are supposed to be enslaved. Remember, the Pope said to enslave the Saracens and all unbelievers, right? That's you. That's us. That's our descendants. That's our ancestors. That's the Israel Alawi. I'm not saying all of the Moors were Israel Alawi, but a lot of them. If y'all go look at some of my last teachings, I told you about the Moors who came to America who ended up being enslaved. They had to reach back to Morocco in order to be free, right? If y'all haven't seen that, go watch it. So thereafter, they dominated most of Italy for years. Who? The Moors. You don't hear that, right? We always hear about Spain and Portugal. Spain and Portugal. The Moors control Spain and Portugal. No, the Moors control Europe. That's why they hate us. So thereafter, they dominated most of Italy for years and parts of it until the 13th century, when they were swamped by further white invasions from the north. Gradually, they were absorbed into the Italian population, even as the Africans brought in by the ancient Romans had been. So a lot of people think a lot of the Black Africans who live in these European countries are migrants, right? No, some of them have been there since at least this time, since the time of the Moors. So I'm going to tell y'all, look, they hate us. Yeah, like I said, you ever wonder why y'all hate us? What they hate us for? What we do? We ain't do. Oh yeah, they hate us. They hate us because it's historical, but we know the prophecies. It's the curse as well, Deuteronomy 28. But historically, everything biblically is validated with our history, both in Europe, scattered around the world, sent to the Americas. Our history is validated as Israel out. Ain't nobody can deny it. All right, so remember, he says Sudan and Ethiopia were part of the Moorish troops that invaded, right? So, you know, I have this map in my book. And so right here is Upper Ethiopia. Let me highlight that right there. Right here is Upper Ethiopia. And right here is Lower Ethiopia. So right here, Lower Ethiopia is Negro land. Right here is Upper Ethiopia, which is the Congo and parts of what we would call modern day Ethiopia right here. So this is the territory, more than likely, that they were referring to, and not necessarily all of Africa, but you know, hey, it could be all of Africa. But we know for sure they call this Upper Ethiopia and Lower Ethiopia. And according, you know, read my book if you want the details. But in Upper Ethiopia, where those who followed Yahusha or Yahuwah, those who followed Yahuwah and obeyed the commands and were righteous, lived in Upper Ethiopia, right? And those who became pagans, worshiping idols, I'm talking about Ezra Alawi, mind you, they were from Negro land. And that's why the slaves were taken from Negro land, right? Because our ancestors were worshiping idols, even according to, you know, the Gentile history books. All right. So Negro land was where idol worshiping was being done by Ezra Alawi. And Upper Ethiopia is where the quote unquote Israelites who maintained Torah and obeyed Torah and followed the commands, right? They were in Upper Ethiopia, according to the Gentiles, right? Now, if you want the details, get my book. They always knew we were Israelites, right? The true Jerusalem. All right. So the overthrow of King James and the rise of white supremacy, James' reign ended in controversy. The British Parliament, suspicious of his pro-Moorish and anti-Catholic leanings, supported William of Orange in overthrowing James during the Glorious Revolution. William was installed as a Protestant king, but his rule marked the beginning of an aggressive campaign to what? Erase Black and Israelite rule from British identity. All right. So I'm going to show y'all some of my video that I've done in the past about some of this, right? And we'll come back to the slideshow. So the Jacobite rebellions that followed were efforts to restore the Stuart line, right? So they were trying to put a black king back on the throne of Europe. It was ruled by Moorish kings, right? King James was a Moorish king. He was ruling from Scotland until he ended up inheriting Britain and in the rulership over Ireland and Scotland. And that's why they hate you too, right? And remember, this is deep, right? So, y'all saw the movie The Highlander, right? I used to love that, right? But anyway, the Highlanders were black, just to let you know. The Highlanders were black, right? So the Jacobite rebellions that followed were efforts to restore the Stuart line, King James' descendants, to the throne. Jacobites from the Latin Jacobus, meaning James or Jacob. So James, King James, means King Jacob, right? So King James was a Jacobite. King James was a Israelite. King James was a Ezra Alawi. Were overwhelmingly described in military accounts as swarthy, tawny, or dark complexion Highlanders. So King James ruled the Highlands, right? And the Highlanders, they were considered swarthy, tawny, or dark complexioned Highlanders. Their appearance was distinct from the incoming Anglo rulers. When the Jacobites lost, many were enslaved and shipped to the Caribbean, particularly to Jamaica, Barbados, and the Leeward Islands. All right, so I'm gonna pause right there on the screen sharing, and I'm going to show you my video that I did a while back, right? That covers some of this, right? So we'll be coming back to this. All right, so let me share this. And I'm doing this for those who, you probably haven't seen it more than likely because this is an old video, but the information is very, very important because I'm going to show you what has been happening and why what's happening after 2019 occurred, because it was an execute order 66, if you want to say that, right? Or 666. Anyway, let's get into it. A tall black man. Oh no, wait, that can't be. No, Yacoba, you're making it up, Yacoba. He was referred to as a tall black man. Remember, he's a descendant of King James. He was referred to as a tall black man in parliamentary wanted posters. One of the nicknames he acquired was the Black Boy. His height was 6 feet 2 inches, probably inherited from his Danish paternal grandmother, Anne of Denmark. Also set him apart from his contemporaries in a time when the average Englishman was far smaller than today. He was called Black Boy. He was a tall black man. But I know what they're going to say. Black don't mean black. You know that's what they're going to say, right? Black don't mean black. Now we know why they called this boy. Hey, boy, come here, boy. Do this, boy. Hey, boy, come over here. Get that, boy. I'm just saying, they called him a black boy. But hey, let's continue. They're going to say, these aren't the droids you're looking for. You know that's what they're going to say, right? But they described him as a tall black man. So, as I mentioned, this is King James. This is the globe he had in his hand for ruling the world. He had the divine right to rule because he's an Israelite. Let me say this right quick, family, because at the time when I did this video, I did not know that the Ethiopian monarchy had this same globe in their hand, right? And that globe was transferred over to the current white Anglo descendant Brits that rule the world today. But the Ethiopians had that same globe in their hand that ruled who were black. I'm just saying, but let's continue. He said, you can't kick me out because God ordained that Israelites are going to rule. I'm sitting on the throne of my fathers. You read the Bible as well as I did that Israel is going to be on the throne of the world. Yeshua is going to rule all the world. There ain't going to be no other nations. It's only going to be an Israelite nation. Oh, I know y'all don't believe that. At the end of the 1,000-year reign, check back. But let's continue. So James the Sixth of Scotland became James the First of England. Charles I was born in Fife of November 19, 1600, the second son of James VI of Scotland. From 1603, also James I of England. Like I told you, he ruled Scotland and England. His name was changed from James VI of Scotland to James I of England. And Anne of Denmark. He became heir to the throne on the death of his brother, Prince Henry, in 1612. He succeeded as the second Stuart King of Great Britain in 1625. Is it no wonder that Paul, assuming that Acts 29 is legit, it makes sense of why he went to Britain? There was an Israelite king ruling on the throne of Britain. There were Israelite kings, as a matter of fact, ruling all of Europe. Oh, I know you don't believe it. Yes, you got it right. They're going to say white-skinned Negroes, but he's black. He was a tall black man. Okay, Jacobites, black Jews. After Cromwell had executed King Charles I and ravaged the three kingdoms, the Jacobites tried to restore the black Stuart kings to power. They were known as Jacobites. One shall name himself Jacob, another shall name himself after Israel. Now, this is from Lee Cummings. Okay, that's his commentary. But they were black kings, and I'm going to prove they were black kings. Europe was ruled by black folks. They overthrew us. We got betrayed. They kicked us out. Convert to Catholicism or die. That's why they had the Inquisition, and some of our own people had betrayed us. Britain versus France. There was another reason why the Jacobite Rising of 1745 happened as well. Britain's greatest enemy at this time was France. In the 1740s, the two countries were at war. The French decided to help the Jacobites. Why was this? The French king liked the Stuarts. They were Roman Catholic just like he was. The Stuarts were Scottish in Scotland, had been good friends with France for hundreds of years. The French king thought that the Stuarts were the true kings of England and Scotland, not Protestant Germans, not the white boys. There were other more secret reasons for the French support. So now you can see that there was a war between the black kings and the white rulers. The black kings, the Stuart line, and the Protestant Germans, the Anglo-Saxons. There was a war, and the war is still going on to this day. You just don't know that you're in it. According to Jacobites, though. If the Jacobites started a rebellion, the British would have to send troops to fight them. This would mean there would be fewer British soldiers fighting the French. If the Jacobites won France would have a good friend as the new king of Britain. The Stuarts would probably fight with France rather than against it. When the Jacobites had invaded England, the French did plan to help by invading England as well. It was only the British Navy and nasty British weather that stopped it. So here's something that's important. This is the Solemn League Covenant. This is where I show you proof that King James was not aligning himself with Roman Catholicism. He was not aligning himself with the popes, as some of those other documents were saying. Taken by the House of Commons, September 25th, 1643, Rushworth, 478, see Great Civil War, a solemn league and covenant for reformation and defense of religion. The honor and happiness of the king and peace and safety of the three kingdoms of England, Scotland, and Ireland, all ruled by blacks. We noblemen, barons, knights, gentlemen, citizens, burgesses, ministers of the gospel, and commons of all sorts in the kingdoms of England, Scotland, and Ireland, by the providence of God, living under one king, and being of one reformed religion, having before our eyes the glory of God and the advancement of the kingdom of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, the honor and happiness of the king's majesty and his posterity, and the true public liberty, safety, and peace of the kingdoms wherein everyone's private condition is included, and calling to mind the treacherous and bloody plots, conspiracies, attempts, and practices of the enemies of God against the true religion and professors thereof in all places, especially in these three kingdoms,
ever since the reformation of religion, and how much their rage, power, and presumption are of late. And at this time increase in exercise thereof of the deplorable estate of the church and kingdom of Ireland, and distressed estate of the church and kingdom of England, and the dangerous estate of the church and kingdom of Scotland, are present in public testimonies. We have now at last, after our means of supplication, remonstrance, protestations, and sufferings for the preservation of ourselves and our religion from utter ruin and destruction, according to the commendable practice of these kingdoms in former times, and the example of God's people in other nations, after mature deliberation, resolved and determined to enter into a mutual land, solemn league, and covenant, wherein we all subscribe, and each one of us for himself with our hands lifted up the Most High God do swear, that we shall in like manner, without respect of persons, endeavor to extirpate a popery, prelacy, that is, church government by archbishops, chancellors, commissaries, deans, and chapters, archdioceses, and all other ecclesiastical officers, depending on the hierarchies, superstition, heresy, schism, profaneness, and whatsoever shall be found to be contrary to sound doctrine and power of godliness, lest we partake in other men's sins, and thereby be in the danger to receive of their plagues, and that the Lord may be one, and his name one in three kingdoms.
So they said that King James was a Catholic, but yet King James opposed Catholicism. The covenant that was made was that they would extirpate popery, which is Catholicism, Roman Catholicism ruled by the Pope of Rome, right? So King James was at war with Rome, which is why Rome did what? Enslaved us, persecuted us, right? All these things. And so King James was against the Inquisition. He was against the enslavement of the Ezra Alawi. Why? Because he was Ezra Alawi himself. That's why he was called King James. It's really King Jacob. He was Ezra Alawi, and he was opposing Rome. And Rome is the ones that aligned themselves with the Anglo-Saxons and put the Anglo-Saxons in power.
So it was to extirpate popery. Extirpate. Definition: to destroy, completely wipe out. So was King James really a Catholic? We saw in the Solemn League Covenant that King James and the Jacobites wanted to extirpate popery. So this was an alliance between the Jacobites, the Solemn League Covenant. How could William and Mary be for the Protestants and King James for the Catholic Church when he was against popery? Someone is lying. It appears that the excuse that William and Mary were Protestants and King James was a Catholic was an excuse to take over the kingdom. The Solemn League Covenant, beginning of Jacobite rebellion. Although it stressed their allegiance, the Solemn League Covenant stressed their allegiance to the king by signing the document, the Covenanters, as they were known, undertook to protect the Scottish Church against what they claimed was the introduction of Roman Catholic modes of worship by then Archbishop of Canterbury, William Laud, who was trying to impose a new single liturgy and prayer book across England and Scotland. So the Jacobite Rebellion. On July 23rd, 1745, Charles of Stuart, the 24-year-old grandson of England's long-dead ousted King James II, landed in Mordort on the western coast of Scotland in the company of 7 men. He intended to seize power in Britain, reverse the dynastic consequences of the revolution in 1688 on behalf of his father, who lived in Italy, restore the deposed Stuart family to the British throne. Before sailing for Scotland, Charles Edward had been in correspondence with several British Jacobites, supporters of the Stuart dynasty, including prominent clan leaders and landlords in the Scottish Highlands. Some of these men greeted him near the coast. With their help, he raised a small army composed largely of Gaelic-speaking Highlanders.
And remember, Highlanders were black. I showed you that Highlanders were black. King James ruled Scotland, ruled the Highlanders, right? And the Jacobites were trying to put the black rulership, the Stuarts, back on the British throne because William of Orange overthrew King James, right? And they ended up having the Anglo-Saxons rule, which is the modern, Prince Charles, who's now the King of England. He's an Anglo. He's not a Stuart, obviously. So here's the thing. A lot of black folks, not only are you royalty because of Ezra Alawi, because you are descendant of King David, some of you all are descendants of King James. See, a lot of people be throwing that shade at him because he a black man. That's why. But let's continue. Mid-August, he and his men were marching south. In September, they took the town of Edinburgh, leaving the government garrison beleaguered in Edinburgh's castle. The Glorious Revolution, the overthrow of Israelites. The Glorious Revolution refers to the events of 1688 to 89 that led to the Catholic King James II of England being deposed and replaced on the throne by his Protestant daughter Mary II and her husband William, Prince of Orange. The Glorious Revolution permanently established Parliament as the ruling power of England and later the United Kingdom, representing a shift from an absolute monarchy to a constitutional monarchy. So this is where we get this rulership by Parliament, both in Britain and in the United States, which are. So the reason why they wanted this constitutional monarchy is because the Parliament had financed William of Orange and Mary to overthrow his uncle, right? So because he was the grandson of King James. And so they overthrew him, and because William of Orange was a merchant and he did business with these parliamentarian and these business folks, sort of like what you see today, right? How everything is ruled by corporations. Well, that's why you ended up having this constitutional monarchy as opposed to an absolute monarchy. Personally, I'm for an absolute monarchy. I am not for a constitutional monarchy because a constitutional monarchy is the same as democracy. I'm not for that, right? Because that's the way that they manipulate you and maintain control as a group over the nation, as opposed to a king who's an absolute monarch who can tell you yay or nay. Now, my philosophy is if you live in righteous, living for the Most High, you got an absolute monarch, he's going to be a blessing to the people. If you sinning, then you're going to end up getting a despot, right? That's the way I see it. But anyway, all of this history is important, right? Run by who? People descendant of Anglo-Saxons. So return of Israelite rule to England. The Jacobites struggled to restore the deposed Stuart dynasty to the British throne was a major threat to the success of a single centralized Britain. See how they wanted to rule Britain? See, the Parliament came together. This is universal control, right? That parliamentary oligarchy, just like the New World Order, world government, right? Centralized Britain, centralized world, continue. So this was that formulation of the beast system, right? I mean, the beast system always existed, but the more modern form started way back then when they overthrew King James, right? And I'm going somewhere with this. Anyway, yet for several centuries, historians presented the Jacobites as kilted primitives. Jacobite prisoners. After their defeat, many of those who partook in the rebellion were arrested and sent as slaves to North America and the Caribbean. Now, my question to you, family, what slaves do you see in the islands, in the Caribbean, in Barbados, and St. Kitts, and all of these places? Are they black or are they white? I'm just saying. But the Jacobites, many of them were sent to these islands, which we know, our people were there as slaves, right? Y'all Jamaicans, y'all in there, y'all know. Working in sugarcane fields. Some of y'all got Scottish last name and Irish last name, but we're going to get there. Enslaved Jacobites. In the years following 1715, the government pursued an array of initiatives designed to punish the participants in the rising and alter the social condition that allegedly facilitated the mobilization of Jacobites. After the Battle of Preston in 1715, Hundreds of captured Jacobite soldiers were persuaded to accept conditional pardons from George I, requiring them to work in the colonies as bound laborers. As a result, at least 639 men, mostly Highlanders, were sent in bondage to North America. So they were set in bondage to North America. Who? Highlanders. Why? Because Highlanders were black. They were Negroes. They were Israeli. They were Israelites. They were Yasharal. And Caribbean. Before we continue, family, where did those Israelites get sent to? Did they not get sent to North America as slaves? I'm talking about the Israelites. We got that in the historical documents. The Israelites were sent to North America and the Caribbean. We saw some of the quote-unquote Sephardic Jews who live on some of the islands, right? Same thing with Jamaica and all these things, right? You've seen those documents already. So this proves these people who were black, and I'm gonna prove they were black, the Jacobites, they were sent as slaves to North America and the Caribbean. The prisoners were what? Sold. You know of any white folks being sold? I'm just asking. The prisoners were sold in what? Maryland. I have a question before I continue on. Where did Matthias de Souza land when he got here? We know that Matthias de Souza was a Sephardic Jew. He was probably a Jacobite. Where did he land when he got here? Maryland. The prisoners were sold in Maryland, Virginia, South Carolina, Jamaica, Barbados, St. Kitts, and Antigua. In general, the places that took them had labor shortages and depended primarily on slave labor. After the captured soldiers had been sent to America, other punitive measures were adopted by authorities in the Scottish Highlands. These people, some of you folks are Highlanders. I hope y'all know that, right? Y'all descendants of Highlanders. Oh, the white folks gonna be mad. Oh, you niggas, Highlanders. Who were Jacobites? They were trying to put King James back on the throne of Europe. They lost. They were sent to the colonies of Britain. They were sent there as prisoners of war. They were sold there as slaves. Not all Jack. Come on, Dave. Yo. There can only be one. Tell it, Dave. Y'all gotta see the Highlander if y'all know to know what he's talking about. Jacobites were black, but most of the Jacobites were black. How do you know, Yacoba? You're making it up. How do you know? Just because they were sold as slaves, they could have been white folks who were sold as slaves. What did these Jacobite slaves look like? You know I'm coming with receipts. You know I am. You know I'm coming with receipts. What did these Jacobite slaves look like? Jacobite gleanings from state manuscripts. Short sketches of Jacobites to transportation in 1745 by Macheath Forbes. Jacobites were black Israelite slaves. An exact list and description of 150 rebel prisoners shipped at Liverpool on board the veteran John Rickey, master for the Leeward Islands, which were taken near Antigua the June 28 last by the diamond privateer Paul Marcel, commander, and carried into Martinico June 30, 1747. So we know that these people were sold as slaves. Robert Adams, laborer. Brown, smooth face. William Bell, weaver. Berwick, black, curled hair, strong made. Dougal Campbell, servant. Brown, complex, well made, ruddy. Addis Catanock, miller. Black, ruddy, ditto, healthy. Dougal Campbell, servant, brown. Alex, John, and Alex, ditto. That means they brown. Look at here, swarthy, ditto, brown, swarthy. I'm just saying, come on now, black. All right, so I'm gonna stop right there. If y'all want to go watch the rest of the video, I recommend you go see it. I'll paste it in the chat if you want to go watch the rest of it. But I wanted to prove my point that King James was an Israelite and he was a black man and he ruled black people, and the Jacobites were black folks, and they tried to put a black king back on the throne of Europe. Come on now. Now I'm going somewhere with this because this is very important of why they have it out for us, right? I mean, this war has been going on for a long time. It's just that we didn't know nothing about it, right? We didn't know anything about it. All right. So the connection to expelled Iberian Israelites. At the same time, black Jews from Spain and Portugal were being forcibly converted, murdered, or deported. Many were sent to the same islands as the defeated Jacobites. The book Whence the Black Irish of Jamaica confirms that Irish surnames like Burke appear among black Jamaicans where no Irish plantation owners ever existed, proving these were not slaves given their masters' names. They were Irish or Scottish by blood and descent. That's why some of you all got Burke, some of you all got Campbell, some of you all got Adams, some of you all got Brown, some of you all have these names that tie you back to Ireland and Scottish. Some of you all are descendants of King James royalty. Some of you all are descendants of King David out of Portugal and Spain. Negroes ruled Europe. See, this is what they don't want you to know. But this is why we have been at war for over 2,000 years, really. I mean, we ever since we got kicked out of Jerusalem in 70 AD, we've been chased, hunted, dragged, persecuted, you know. But even though we ruled for a time, Europe, right, we got overthrown. They like, we're not gonna let the Negroes rule no more. Oh yeah, they had contingency plans for us, and I'm gonna show you why I think all of this. So this convergence of Jacobite Scots and Iberian Israelites in Caribbean bondage is not a coincidence. They were kin. The ones who were expelled from Portugal and Spain were Ezra Alawi. The ones living in Ireland and living in Scotland were Ezra Alawi. King James was Ezra Alawi. Jamaicans with Irish names. This is from Whence the Black Irish of Jamaica. Visitors to Jamaica in the British West Indies frequently remark a seeming anomaly. In even the remotest sections of the bush and among the darkest of the Negroes who clearly trace their ancestry back to the earliest slaves from Africa, they will find distinctively Irish names so common that in an unguarded moment, they are apt to give flight to the imagination and claim that they have actually encountered a touch of the brogue. A few years ago, in one school in Kingston, might be found Burke, Collins, Mackey, McDermott. How many black folks you know with these names? That's where they're from. They're from Ireland. They're from Britain. They're from Scotland. McDermott, McKeon, and Walsh, and with one exception, the last named, who was a dusky brown, they were to all appearances full-blooded Negroes. Can I repeat that again? Full-blooded Negroes. In a single classroom of another school, there were Collins, Kidney, McCormick, and O'Hare. And here again, in only one case did the features of or complexion indicate any infusion of Caucasoid blood, although this one, too, was a black as the rest. Perhaps one of the names most frequently met with throughout the island is that of Burke. Some instances, it is true, the name itself may be a corruption of that of the Haitian refugees, Dubourg, who came from Jamaica in the 18th century at the time of the Haitian uprising. The usual explanation given for the presence of Irish names is, of course, that the slaves of former days were generally called by the family name of the master. But in the case of Burke, at least we do not find a single planter of that name among the early records of Jamaica. Certainly, the survey of the year 1670 shows that at that time, not 1 acre of land was owned by anyone named Burke. And the same may be said in the case of most of the other Irish names we encounter today among the Negroes of the island. The purpose then of the present writer is to find a solution to the riddle, whence the Black Irish of Jamaica. And the answer, briefly summarized, lends itself to a threefold division from Ireland through Barbados to Jamaica. So in other words, you got Negroes who got Irish names. You got Negroes who have Scottish names. And it wasn't the name of the slave master. So they were like, well, where did they get those names from? Because there weren't any slave masters with those names. Because they were taken from Ireland, and they were taken from Britain, and they were taken from the Scottish land. They were Israelites. King James, as King Jacob preserved an Israelite record, King James authorized the translation of the King James Bible in 1611. This was more than politics. It was a mission of preservation. So think of this. At the time, King James was against popery. He was against Roman Catholic institutions. But yet, a lot of people want to say King James was the enemy of the Most High. No, he was an Israelite. He was one of the last Moorish kings, and he was an Israelite. So this was more than politics. It was a mission of preservation. At the time, the Catholic Church was aggressively suppressing access to the Bible, burning translations, and hunting down those who distributed scripture outside Latin control. So King James was resisting the Catholic Church. James likely saw the writing on the wall. The Israelites were under attack. His translation effort ensured that the true records of the Ezra Alawi survived the Inquisition's purge. As a likely Israelite himself, which he was, James, which stands for Jacob, may have commissioned the KJV for his people, knowing that centuries later they would need it. The Most High used King James to preserve the Torah. Benjamin Franklin and the War Against Swarthy Nations. In a now suppressed letter dated 1751, and I talked about this in one of my other shows, Benjamin Franklin warned about the demographic shifts in Europe. He wrote that the world was becoming swarthy and that only the Anglo-Saxons were truly white. He listed the Germans, the French, the Italians, the Spaniards, the Russians, and the Swedes as all being tawny. Does that not agree with what I just read before? His fear was that white Anglo-Saxon dominance was under threat, not just culturally, but racially. The implication, Europe had been largely non-white before. Now, the question is then, if Europe was ruled by Ezra Alawi and maybe some Edomites, right? Or even maybe some Hamites, but definitely Ezra Alawi, because we know that they said that they come from Sudan and they came from Ethiopia. And I showed you the Ethiopia, which is upper and lower. If Europe was ruled by our ancestors, and then it just so happened that the Anglo-Saxons took over, the same people who enslaved us, and the current rulership is a descendant of Germans. Can we say Queen Elizabeth? Can we say King Charles? Or descendants of Germans. He's not a descendant of the Stuarts. So therefore, they took over at the coup d'etat by William of Orange. And they descended from the people. They descended from the people who took over. Right? And yes, even Drumpf is a descendant of Germany. Keep that in mind. Drumpf is a descendant of Germans. He's a German. Have not we told y'all who our enemies are? They are Germans. Now, let me ask y'all a question. Family, where are the Revelation 2939 people from? What are their ancestry? What's the ancestry of the Revelation 2939 folks? They are Germans. We told y'all Anglo-Saxons are our enemies. German descent are our enemies, and they know this. So the awakening and the reaction of the dragon, according to Genesis 15:13 and Acts 7:6, the Israelites will suffer 400 years of affliction in a foreign land. That 400-year curse ended in 2019, sparking a mass awakening among Black Americans and the African diaspora. This event did not go unnoticed. As Revelation 12 describes, the dragon was enraged with the woman, Israel, Ezra Alawi, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed. This explains the sudden rise of surveillance, militarization, and racially charged policy in the U.S., especially during and after Donald Trump's presidency. Exort type, which I told you is execute order, emergency frameworks, FEMA readiness, and anti-dissent laws are being prepared to contain what the rulers see as a threat to their dominion. It's the Ezra Alawi who are supposed to rule have awakened. The descendants of King James, the descendants of those who ruled Europe in the past, they are trying to stop us. They do not see this as a religious debate. They see it as war. See, that's what y'all don't realize. See, y'all be quick to call people racist. Oh, y'all racist. Y'all racist. No, they're racist. And this is a war. They know it's a war. You don't know it's a war. This also explains why the United States created COINTELPRO under the FBI. It was designed to monitor, infiltrate, discredit, and destroy Black movements. A specific fear detailed in FBI memos was the rise of a Black Messiah who could unite and deliver Black people. Now, isn't that interesting that, we didn't know we was Israel, but we knew they feared the rise of a Black Messiah? No, they literally feared the rise of a Moses. They literally feared the rise of a Yahusha type of person. Because the Most High was going to use another Ezra Alawi to deliver us from captivity. They were anticipating the coming of a Moses-type figure, or even more directly, a Messiah like Yahusha, who would deliver the true Ezra Alawi from bondage. The government knew who we were and who our king is. This is why execution order, or exort, and other wartime frameworks are being activated. That's what's happening right now, family, with Trump. It is being activated. The execution order, and you could take the execution in many ways. The execution order and other war frameworks are being activated. This is why the entire world system seems to have gone mad, because the enemies of the Ezra Alawi know the prophecy is real and they are preparing for a spiritual war with physical tools. Oh, yes. They know who we are. They've been knew who we are, and they had contingency plans. Now, we're going to look at some other things right quick. And we'll come back to the slide. So execution order, that's what Trump and him is doing, right? Obviously, he has a plan which is against us. I've been telling y'all, now y'all know, y'all gotta admit it. Yacob been warning y'all before it even happened, years as a matter of fact, that they were after us.
President Trump's crime crackdown sweeping the nation. After deploying the National Guard to Washington, D.C., now the White House plans to extend its effort across 19 states, all with the goal of curbing crime and supporting immigration enforcement. We'll talk to Republican Congressman Pat Fallon in just a moment. Plus, an illegal alien accused of killing 3 people in a truck accident is due in court today. What he's facing as yet another illegal alien, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, was set free. And we're getting new details this morning on the raid of former National Security Advisor John Bolton's home and office. So what was the FBI looking for and why? Welcome to Fox News Live, everybody. I'm Kevin Corke in the nation's capital. We begin at the White House just across the road, where the president wrapped up a fairly busy week, I think it's easy to say. Lucas Tomlinson joins us from the North Lawn. Hey, LT.
Good morning, Kevin. We just received some new numbers. Over 2,000 National Guardsmen are this morning patrolling the streets of Washington, D.C. This comes as the D.C. police force, we know, is over 800 cops short. And those National Guardsmen are coming from a number of states, part of President Trump's crackdown on crime here in the nation's capital. And yesterday in the White House, the president says they could be going to other cities in the future.
We're going to make our cities very, very safe. Chicago's a mess. You have an incompetent mayor, grossly incompetent. and we'll straighten that one out probably next. So I think Chicago will be our next, and then we'll help with New York.
So Chicago and New York, Kevin. Now,
So Trump is going to send military to more black cities, right? Let's just sum it up that way. He's going to send more military to black cities. And now let's look at it this way as well. Now, who controls Donald Trump? Revelation 2:9 and 3:9, right? Them folks in the Middle East. If that's the case, then what's the heritage of them, right? What's the heritage of those people? They are what? Descendants of what? Anglo-Saxons. Right? See, all of this ties back. None of this is new, right? It ties back to the war, during the time of the Inquisition, when the Roman Catholic Church persecuted us, right? With the war between the Jacobites, right, and the Anglos, right, for control of Europe. The Anglos won, which is why we went into captivity, which is why they hunted us down all around the world, because we the Israelites, right? So this has been their plan, right, to oppress us and keep us down. Now, remember, what did the Pope say, right? He said that we would be perpetual slaves. So in other words, they never wanted us to come back in a chance to have rulership. They wanted us to be perpetual slaves. So they had policies in place, plans and programs in place to make sure that they keep the Negro down, which is why we're the last. And that's why the Most High says the last shall be first and the first shall be last. Now understand this. These people, which is maddening, are at war with Yahuwah. These people are literally at war with the Most High himself. They are at war with and look, here's the thing, Brother Dens. They're coming for all of us, bro. They're coming for our brothers in the UK, our sisters, everywhere. They're coming for this. Hey, look, I'm gonna tell y'all this, because remember, nothing new under the sun. What we're seeing is a revisit to the Inquisition. This is what we're seeing. But the Most High says we're gonna be saved out of it. But what we're seeing is the execution phase of the new order, the contingency plan for the awakening. Now, take note of this, because look, it all comes back full circle. It comes back full circle. Psalm 83, keep not thou silence, O Yah, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Yah. For lo, thy enemies make a turmoil, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. So they're fighting against the Most High. Well, how did they attack the Most High? Through his people. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. Nobody knew who we were. They have said, come and let us cut them off. We're going to pay attention to that word, right? We need to look at that word because we take it too lightly. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Ezra Alawi may be no more in remembrance. They want to steal our identity, our heritage, our culture, our tradition, right? They want to keep us out of power. We will be the tail and not the head. For they have consulted together they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. What did they do? They made a treaty. Let's use common terminology, family. They have consulted together with one another. They have made a treaty. They are confederate against thee. They made a treaty. It's like NATO against the Soviet Union. They made a treaty. The tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites of Moab, the Hagarenes, Gabal and Ammon and Amalek, the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre, Ashur also is joined with them. This is a treaty, just like NATO. Call them the Psalm 83 treaty if you want. They have hope in the children of Lot. Selah, do unto them as unto the Midianites, as to Sisera, as to Jabin at the brook of Kishon, which perished at Endor. They became as dung for the earth. make their nobles like Oreb and like Zeb, yea, all their princes as Zebah, as Elmunah, who said, let us take to ourselves the houses of Yah in possession. Let's make them slaves. Right? So this was a global treaty to keep us enslaved. It wasn't just the Catholic Church. It wasn't just the Romans. It wasn't just the Germans. Even the Germans are the controllers behind this whole thing, right? The Germans, the Anglo-Saxons. That's why our enemy don't look like us, right? They pale, right? Because they're the Anglo-Saxons. They're the ones that keep the plan in place, where the rest of the people who don't look like us have no idea what's happening, why they are being manipulated to hate us, right? They don't understand it. They just caught up in this deception. So white supremacy, a tool of the Psalm 83 Confederacy or war. The idea of racial supremacy was formalized by Johann Blumenbach, who divided humanity into races and placed Caucasians at the top. But his work wasn't innocent. It was part of the post-Inquisition program to dehumanize the Ezra Alawi and justify their enslavement. Africans were described as subhuman, monkey-like, or 3/5 of a man. This wasn't based on science. It was propaganda designed to convince the world that the real Ezra Alawi were animals, so no one would object to their mass persecution. Psalm 83 outlines this conspiracy clearly. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Ezra Alawi may be no more in remembrance. Psalm 83 verse 4, cut them off equals genocide. All right, this is what they planned. Genocide. In Psalm 83 verse 4, the phrase cut them off comes from the Hebrew verb karath, meaning of karath is primary sense to cut off, to cut down. In covenant language, it is to cut a covenant, meaning to formally establish it. In hostile usage, to destroy, eliminate, exterminate, root out. So in Psalm 83, the enemies of Israel, or Ezra Alawi, are saying, come and let us commit genocide, cut them off from being a nation. Here, Karath carries the sense of wiping out, annihilating, or removing so thoroughly that their name or identity disappears. It's not just separation, but total elimination of existence as a people. They plan to exterminate us. Is that not what Margaret Sanger said? Is that not why she wrote the what's her name? What's the book? The Black Project. Is that not why Margaret Sanger created the Black Project? Why she created abortions, right? That was her stated goal, right? Is this not why they had eugenics programs in America? Eugenics programs in Germany? To cut them off to commit genocide. They meant it when they said we will be perpetual slaves. They meant it when they said they would never let Negroes rule over them again. They would never let another King James rule Europe. They would never let him rule Scotland. They would never let him rule Ireland. Karat, here are the main categories where the Hebrew verb karat is used in the sense of cut off, meaning destroy, eliminate, root. Cutting off people, elimination from community or debt. Genesis 9:11. All flesh shall not be cut off anymore by the waters of a flood. Can we say exterminated? Exodus 12:15. That soul shall be cut off from Israel. Exterminated. Exodus 31:14. Everyone that defileth it shall surely be put to death. For whoever doth any work thereon, that soul shall be cut off. Can we say exterminated? Leviticus 7:20 to 21, 25, 27, repeated warnings about being cut off from the people for eating unclean food or blood. Can we say genocide? Eliminate them. When the enemies of Ezra Alawi say, let us karat them off from being a nation. They are calling for the total removal of the people and their memory, in line with other passages where Karath is used for exterminating nations or eliminating individuals from the covenant people. You ever ask yourself a question? Why didn't the Russians and the Soviet Union tell the world who we are? Why didn't the Iranians tell the world who we are? Why don't the Yemenis tell the world who we are? Why don't the enemies of the West tell the world who we are? That will really put a wrench into the global plans of the global elite or those who want a unipolar order. But why? Why don't they tell the world? Because they're all in cahoots. They're all in covenant. It is a covenant that's older and greater than any other covenant that they're going to stick by, is to make sure we are suppressed, and hopefully by them, by their plans, sooner or later exterminated, which is why they a lot of people ate the lollipop. They don't want us here. Now, I know some of their own, but they don't care about their own either. They know so long as we don't exist, they rule. This is what you see happening with Trump. This is what you see happening. A planned genocide. Genocide is the deliberate destruction of a people. Is that not what Psalm 83 said? It targets them because of who they are, not because of what they've done individually. It can mean killing, preventing births, breaking families, or erasing culture and memory. The goal is not just harm, but the end of that group's existence. Is that not what Psalm 83 says? To cut them off from being a nation? Legal definition, United Nations 1948 Genocide Convention, Article 2. Genocide means any of the following acts committed with intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group. 1, killing members of the group. 2, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group. 3, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. Number 4, imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group. Is that not what they do? Forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. But we ain't got nothing to worry about. We're not going to have to flee. Understand that what we're seeing today is the fulfillment of a plan that they've had in the works for a while. What the world is witnessing now is not political unrest. It is the spiritual resurrection of a nation. The true Ezra Alawi, the people scattered, enslaved, and made into bywords, is rising. Is it a coincidence that Africa is now pushing back after all of these decades? And just like Revelation 12 says, the serpent is furious, but he cannot win because the people are remembering who they are, because the word was preserved. What? By King James, right? Because the king they overthrew left us the records, because Jacob is awakening and the world is shaking. See, the Most High used King James to keep the word out there, to make it available to us who are the true descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So there's a lot going on, and at least to me, it's moving real fast, very fast, right? It's moving very, very fast. And we need to be prepared, and we need to understand what we're dealing with. Yes, they're devils. They are devils. They're evil. Evil. Let's put it this way. As a people group, they had a contract put out on us to keep us oppressed, to keep us subservient, to keep us sinning, to keep us enslaved. And that's why they're all in cahoots. They're all in agreement. And that's why they don't want to give you reparations, because if they give you reparations, guess what? Then they remove the chains from your neck. They can't give us reparations and maintain power. But the Most High is going to give us reparation. But understand this. we are in a fast forward mode. We are, I told y'all where I think we are. You know, people got their own opinions, right? Which is fine. You can have yours. But I believe we are in Revelation 12, right? Right around approaching Revelation 13. That's where I think we are scripture-wise. And let's look at this right quick because there's a little something going on and we need to pay attention to it.
Of Dole, dead June 9th, 2025. Founder of Leprino Foods, dead June 19th, 2025. Bernard Lauder, CEO, billionaire philanthropist, dead June 14th, 2025. Frederick Smith, former CEO of FedEx, dead June 21st, 2025. Billionaire Burton Tansky, dead March 16th, 2025. Billionaire Robert Shapiro, dead May 2nd, 2025. Former CEO of Hasbro, Alan Hassenfield, dead July 8th, 2025. Blackstone executive Wesley LePatner, 43 years old, dead July 2025. Junior Bridgman, billionaire, dead March 11th, 2025. Joshua Pickles, DoorDash executive, dead June 21st, 2025. Milestone CEO, dead June 2025. Jim Irsay, dead May 21st, 2025. He was the CEO and owner of the Indianapolis Colts. You think all of these are a coincidence? All of them?
Now, I don't know about you. I think that is beyond statistically possible, right? I don't think it's statistically possible that all of these billionaires die in 2025, even with the lollipop. And yes, I believe they're going in the underground cities. Why? Because there's something coming. That's why you see these troops being put in these cities and why the troops are being put in black cities. Think about this as well. Why is Trump concerned about the Smithsonian Museum teaching about slavery? I told y'all all of the policies and the executive orders he was signing is all geared against black folks in America. This is warfare. This is attacks. This is weaponry that's not common. I keep trying to get y'all to understand we are in the midst of warfare and they are using their weapons against us. I think it was a video or a book. I think it was a video. Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. Right? And they're using silent weapons for war against us, whether it be, psychological operations, eating a lollipop, all these different things, right? There's silent weapons for quiet war. And our people don't understand that our lives are in danger. I told y'all, I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm here to do what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to warn. We're supposed to seek the Most High. But we are in danger. I know you're not going to feel it. You're not going to understand it until it happens. That's just the way it is. And I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just getting you to understand. You best be right with the Most High. Now, let me show you something else, right? Now, take it for what it is. But I see a lot of things. And I think I don't think we have a lot of time. Now, let me show y'all this right quick. Now, this is just an animated AI video, but I'm going somewhere with it to make a point. Okay.
Show me the beast. Show me the beast.
So some people might think that's extreme, but here's the thing. I think there's legitimacy there, right? Just the way you see things today, because we have our ideas about end time. We have our ideas about the end time prophecies and how they're gonna play out, but understand, the Bible says that they make an image of the beast that cause it to speak, that causes many that would not worship, what is tied to worship the image of the beast, that they might be killed. Oh, pay attention to this, fam. Pay attention to this. I'm just telling you, I don't think we have a lot of time left, okay? So Deus Ex Machina. Y'all saw the anime, right? They got the anime and all that stuff. Deus Ex Machina, right? Is Latin for God from the machine, is a literary and theatrical device where a seemingly impossible situation is suddenly resolved by an unexpected, improbable, and often overshadowed event or character, like a crane lowering a god onto a Greek stage. It's considered lazy or unsatisfactory writing because it provides a convenient external solution that bypasses the established rules and character development. So basically, it means God from the machine. All right, Deus Ex Machina. Right now, there was a test run of this in Switzerland. Right now, let me show y'all this before I comment. Deus Ex Machina refers to a Swiss art exhibit in Lucerne where an AI-powered Jesus avatar was installed in a confessional booth from late August to October 2024. The project, a collaboration between St. Peter's Chapel and Lucerne University of Applied Sciences and Arts, used AI to simulate a conversation with Jesus, trained on the New Testament to provide spiritual guidance and encourage critical thinking about the role of technology and faith. The installation aimed to explore the intersection of spirituality and technology and the limitations of human trust in machines for religious guidance. Deus Ex Machina. This installation is an art project, not an actual divine manifestation, with the title God and Machine. Well, we know it's not. We know it's a counterfeit. Is that not what the Bible says? They're going to make an image of the beast. Now, AI Jesus, a computer-generated avatar of Jesus Christ, was created using artificial intelligence based on biblical text. So here's the deal. They're not just talking to AI like we might talk to ChatGPT. You know what they got? They have a hologram. A hologram is associated with this. So when they go into that prayer booth, right, they are praying to a fake Christ, an AI Christ, which is white Jesus, right, which is a hologram. And white Jesus is a fake anyway. But understand this. They create an image of the beast. Now, think of this for a second, right? We know that the beast is world government globalization, right? It is the seven-headed dragon that we see in the book of Revelation, right? But here's the thing. Here's the difference, right? What is the image of Roman Catholicism? Because Roman Catholicism started all this. Roman Catholicism is the one that aligned itself with the Anglo-Saxons. Roman Catholicism is the one that promoted Christianity, which is white supremacy. Who just happened to have taken over the government of the United States? White supremacy, colonizers, MAGA supporters, so-called Christians who are what? Followers of white Jesus. Is not white Jesus the image of the global world governmental system? Is white Jesus not the image of the beast? It represents the beast. I'm just saying, maybe I'm wrong. But Yahushua, according to Torah, even though we're not supposed to make an image of him, he's black. And they've been promoting what? White Jesus throughout all of Europe. Europe is the ones that control Christianity. It is a Christian religion. It is a Roman religion. It is a Protestant religion. I'm just saying, seems to me this fits the image of the beast. And not only is it tied to the image of the beast, it's also tied to worship. Is it coincidence? I'm just saying. Now, let's throw this in as well. But anyway, let me finish this because this is my last scripture. And I'm going to make a point. Revelation 13:50, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. Can we say hologram? That's literally what it is. That the image of the beast should both speak AI, talking through a hologram to the people who asking it questions with an image of Jesus, a fake Jesus, a white Jesus, an image of the beast, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Now think of this for a second, right? They cause those who don't worship the image of the beast to be killed. Isn't it interesting? I'm just saying. I don't know if I'm right, but they cause those who don't worship the image to be killed. What is Trump doing right now? He's saying that women, that you're not going to be able to vote unless your husband gonna have to vote. Your birth certificate gonna have to line up with your marriage certificate. If not, you can't vote. Right? He's taking away those rights. He's bringing in and like I say, I'm not for abortion. I'm just saying, I'm against abortion, but I'm just saying he's going against that too, right? And he's also taking control over people's belief system, like putting the 10 Commandments in the public schools, or really privatizing the schools so that they can have access to the 10 Commandments or Christianism, right? So Trump is pushing Eurocentric Christianity. He's not pushing Torah. He's pushing white supremacist Christianity. And so now, can you not see how this could tie back in to them forcing you to worship the image of the beast, which is represented by white supremacy, who are the colonizers who enslave you, who is people, who are the same people who made the image called white Jesus. I'm just saying. Maybe I'm seeing things that's not there. We got to understand that. I don't think we have a lot of time left. A lot of what's happening, people not ready for, and I think we're at the closing part of the play. We're at the closing part of the play, in my opinion. Whatever's gonna happen, I think is gonna happen soon. I can't put no time frame on it, but that's just how I see it. Whatever's gonna happen soon. And what I think is next is the wilderness experience. How that goes about, there's gonna be chaos, there's gonna be strife. The Bible says that as soon as Israel travailed, she was delivered, right? There's the travailing. So right before our birth, right, before we leave here and we run from the dragon, right before that, right, there has to be much pain. Is that not what happened when the baby comes? When the baby about to come, you are forced to give birth. Shall the Most High bring it to the point of not being birthed? He says the baby's going to be birthed. The baby coming out. And let me tell y'all something else. I'm going to throw something at you. This is deep. Pay attention. So y'all know with the woman, right? You got the image. And I was going to do a teaching on it, but I don't know. Maybe. But you got the image in Revelation 12 of the woman giving birth to a man child, which is Yahusha. He was caught up to heaven and seated at the right hand of the Father. Yahusha is the head of the body, right? Come on now, y'all got to go somewhere with me. Yahusha is the head of the body. He's seated at the right hand, right? He's the first to rise from the dead. He's seated at the right hand of the Father, which is authority and power. But here's the thing. This is deep. This is deep. But yet Israel is also referred to as a man-child. I can't pull up the scripture right now. I could. If y'all want to wait, I could pull it up. But anyway, Israel is referred to as the man-child. And let me pull it up because y'all got to see this. Hold on. Because I wasn't planning on talking about this because I was thinking about doing a teaching on it. But let me show y'all because this is deep stuff. Let's see. Let's see. All right. So we know that the woman in Revelation 12 is Israel. And we know that that the child in Revelation 12, 1-6 is in reference to Yahusha, right? We know that. But let me show y'all this right quick, right? This is some stuff I ran across, and like I said, I wasn't sure I was gonna teach on it or not, but let me show y'all this. Because I think it might, well, I know it's important, but I don't know. Let me show y'all. So I probably need to bring up Boat. Let me bring up Boat right quick. All right. All right. Let me stop that. And I'm going to share this. Okay. Revelation 12. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his head. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. And she brought forth a man child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up to Yahuwah and to his throne. All right. So we know that the child here is Yahusha, right? Ain't no doubt about it, right? The nation of Israel is represented by the woman. Now, Yahusha is the head of the assembly, right? Which is the Israelite nation. He's our king. He's the firstborn among many brethren. He's also the first to be resurrected. So he came out first. If you look at the symbology of the birth of the nation, what happens with the baby, family? The head comes out first, right? Right, women? I'm just saying, most of the time, unless it's a breech baby, right? Most of the time, the baby coming out head first. All right. This is deep stuff. Now, let me show y'all this right quick. This is Isaiah 66, 7-9. Before she travailed, she brought forth. Before her pain came, she was delivered of a man child, right? Now, we know this is talking about the nation of Israel. Now, in Revelation 12, she was symbolic of the woman. The woman was Israel. But here, we see that Israel is this man child about to be born. Who had heard such a thing? Who had seen such a thing? Shall the earth be made to bring forth in one day? Or shall a nation, so we know the nation is the child, the man child, or shall a nation be born at once? For as soon as Zion travailed, she brought forth her children. Shall I bring to birth and not cause to bring forth, said Yahuwah? Shall I cause to bring forth and shut the womb, said Yahuwah? In other words, the birth gonna happen. Now, pay attention. So Yahusha is the child who was caught up, right? So the dragon was trying to stop Yahusha before he was born. Now think of this for a second, all right? So Yahusha is the head of the body, right? That's what the Bible teaches, right? The Bible says that Israel, which is us who went into captivity, is travailing what? To be delivered. But the head came out first. So the rest of the body is still waiting to come out and be birthed. So the rest of the body is going through trial and tribulation. Y'all see where I'm going with this? The rest of the body is still stuck in the birthing process to be delivered. They're stuck in the womb and suffering pain. The rest of the body is travailing. And now think of this for a second. So the Messiah said that we are supposed to be kings and priests. Yahusha is the high priest. He's also the king. We are to serve and reign with him. Why? Because we are part of his body. We are Ezra Alawi. We are the covenant people. We are part of this birthing process of the nation of Israel, which has a king. So as we're about to be born, and guess what? Guess what's happening? The dragon is waiting for us to devour us as soon as we're born. That's why Trump is putting these military in all of these cities and putting these MRAPs and the National Guard and the FBI and all of these people in all of these cities. Why? Because they know the birth is about to happen. The dragon is waiting to consume us at the point of birth, but the head came out first. It's a 2,000-year process of birth. And the nation is waiting to be delivered. And the Most High says, shall I bring to the birth? In other words, the head is out. Shall I bring it to the birth and not cause to bring forth? Am I going to let part of the body come out? Said Yahuwah, shall I cause to bring forth and shut the womb? In other words, the baby was already being born. Shall I shut the womb, or shall I let the baby be born? We're at that stage, family. I'm telling you. I hope y'all understand it. We're at that stage. Something's about to happen. We're about to be birthed as a nation, but through pain. I told y'all with Clubber Lang, what do you expect for 2025? Pain. Why? Because it's a birthing process. We're about to be birthed. I don't care what nobody say. If you can't see the signs, I feel sorry for you. So if y'all want to support us, you can, tailministries.com. You can go click on the donations tab. There's other options for giving. You can go to Cash App, $TOTW7101, and give through Cash App. If you feel you're learning something and benefiting from the ministry. As a matter of fact, I think, even for what we see happening today, it looks scary. But here's the thing. The prophecies are coming to pass. Those who have eyes to see know our redemption draweth nigh. Those who have eyes to see know that we are about to go home. Those who have eyes to see know that our enemies are going to be judged. Those who have eyes to see know that they're not going to be able to step on our neck and pew us in the streets no more. They're under judgment. Look at what's happening to the animals. They're growing horns. Look what's happening to the deers. They're getting these cancerous growths. Look at what's happening to the earth. It's shaking and convulsing. Look at what's happening to people. They're losing their minds. Look what's happening. I'm like, everything is out of chaos. Look what's happening. The mark of the beast is on the horizon. Oh, and I wanted to come back to that before I left. So the Swiss had this particular display called Deus Machina, which is AI with a hologram, with a fake Jesus, white Jesus, Revelation 2939 people, So they had this image, Deus Machina, AI driven, where people will go and pray to this AI image that looks like a Jesus that, they call him Jesus, but it's the image that they created. It is a false Christ. It is what? Antichrist. Come on. I'm just saying that image in Switzerland is the image of an antichrist, a fake Christ. Now, here's the deal. You add to that the fact, and I know some of y'all know this, that the mark of the beast is already being tested in where? Switzerland. A lot of corporations already got the what? Chip in their right hand. What do? They buy, they trade, they sell with the chip in their right hand. This is in Switzerland. They can't go into the office without being authenticated with the chip in their hand. They can't buy a cup of coffee in the corporation in Switzerland without the chip in their hand. Switzerland is the test case for the global rollout of the mark of the beast. So they got the chip. And now they got the image of the beast that causes those that don't worship it to be killed. I'm just saying. I don't know what to tell you, but hashtag ain't no 400-year prophecy. We ain't gonna have to flee. Well, guess what? Good luck to you as you stay here. Peace and blessings, Israel. Your captivity is ending. Love you with the love of Messiah. Like I say, you want to support us? Tailministry.com, donations, Cash App, $TOTW7101. Also, like, share, and subscribe. And if you haven't given us a like, please do, right? You ain't gonna get this nowhere else. I'm telling you, it's just the way it is. The Most High has given to me what he give to me. I'm gonna exalt the name of the Messiah, because guess what? I'm ready to roll. Gotta do what I gotta do. Time running out. So if y'all want to support us, you can buy my brother's book, They Always Knew We Was Israelites, and you can also buy mine, True Jerusalem, Lost Kingdom of the Israelite. Peace and blessings, Israel. Your captivity is ending. Love y'all. Well, family, the wait is over. The moment has arrived where truth emerges triumphant from the shadows of history. Introducing the True Jerusalem, the Lost Kingdoms of the Israelites, the groundbreaking work by me, Yacobe Vale, a journey into the past that reshapes the future. I cut through centuries of misconceptions with piercing clarity. This book delivers a compelling case packed with evidence that commands attention and gonna get some respect. Come with me for a second, family, and discover how these thrilling civilizations flourished, protected by towering highlands and sustained by advanced engineering. Some have asked, where is Jerusalem? Is it the land in the Middle East? I say no. It is in the highlands of Ethiopia. With hours of groundbreaking research, this book brings in a new revelation, and it will transform your understanding of African history and its connections to the ancient world. It's going to remove from your mind the conditioning by the Romans of what has really happened to our past. Come with me, family, to the Ethiopian highlands and find out why this is our land. Why things have been hidden and obfuscated for centuries. We are royalty, children of the Most High. What kind of land do you expect us to have? Dried up dirt in the Middle East, or land flowing with rivers? A land full of beautiful animals flowing with milk and honey. Don't miss out on this monumental unveiling. Grab your copy today and stand on the side of truth. Visit Amazon.com or www.tailministries.com to purchase your book and join Yacobe Vale's teachings on Tail Ministries. Family, your journey to a hidden history has now begun. So family, get your copy of True Jerusalem, the Lost Kingdoms of the Israelites today. Journey to the heart of Africa, where history and legend converge to reveal the forgotten kingdoms of the Israelites and the true location of Jerusalem.